The future of Eskom. Do we have to smash it into manageable pieces for it to work? Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan seems to think so. The Eskom Sustainability Task Team wants the power utility to be divided into 3 SOEs responsible for generation, distribution and transmission. So why this drastic action? Eskom can't even pay the interest on a 419 billion rand debt, and people not paying for the service are holding back at least 34 billion. Let's talk these staggering numbers and strategy with Ted Blom, Mining and Energy Advisor at the Energy Expert Coalition, and Biza Motubatse, Deputy Regional Chairperson of the National Union of Mine Workers. Good to have you both in the studio. So you are clearly not happy about this and are threatening to strike.
No, that's true. We are rejecting the so-called unbundling of Eskom. We think that this is nothing but privatization. Government is trying to privatize through a backdoor, and it's something that indeed, as the National Union of Mine Workers, we are rejecting.
What's wrong with it, though?
Look, like we indicated, number one is going to have a mass retrenchment. Number two is going to cost the poor, because currently, as we are speaking, Jane, Eskom is generating electricity at 83 cents kilowatts per hour for generation, distribution, and transmission. So if you are going to unbundle, for an example, you take distribution, you unbundle distribution, it therefore means that poor people are going to pay probably double or treble, because they'll have to pay for generation and they'll also have to pay for distribution. Hence, we are saying this is nothing but an onslaught to the working class.
Ted Blom, will the poor have to pay more?
Not necessarily. I think the big benefit of unbundling Eskom is that it increases transparency. As we've seen over the last 20 years, there's been a lot of opaque dealings between the different divisions, and that's led to a lot of suspicion about the organization and its inefficiency. So if you break it up into smaller manageable units, it makes it easier to manage.
Yeah, and how will that work?
It should work quite easily in the sense that forget about distribution, because that's only localized activity. But the main players would be the generation division and the transmission division. And the way that it's supposed to work is that it'll be an independent operator who will then choose which generating units to commission at a given price to supply the grid with the required amount of energy.
And the knock-on effect of that is to create competition, which is...
Well, there will be some competition between the generating units and also the private IPPs, hopefully.
Isn't that a good thing?
No, it is not at all. It is not at all. Remember, the information that we are having as a trade union movement is that the focus is on distribution. So generation, it is having old power stations, the likes of Grill, the likes of Duva, the likes of Komati. So private or rather sectors will not be interested to buy an old power station. They are nearing their lifespan. So you can't sell something that is old to private sector. Hence, we are saying the information that we are having is that the focus is on distribution, and Patrice Motsepe is going to buy that distribution. That is the information that we are having as a trade union movement.
Okay, but I mean, we can't, okay, I see what your focus is, but we can't stay as we were. I mean, it's failed board after board after board, so something clearly has to change.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm predicting that Eskom in its current format will not survive the end of March.
Wow. All right, so
the lenders will pull the rug.
March, a dramatic impact on your workers, so clearly something has to be done. You want to take it to strike action, going back to my opening question to you, during the elections? I mean, that's not a good message, is it? Especially at a time when we desperately need investment in the country.
The Regional Shopsteward Council of the NUM had a meeting yesterday and resolved that we are going to wait for the President to communicate, if not to announce a day or a date for the elections. After that, we are going to have a march to Tule House. We'll be marching to Tule House, and if they are not responding positively, we will then have to have a total shutdown. What will be happening is that if the President, for an example, announces that the elections are going to be held on the 7th of May, on the 1st of May, we'll begin with our national shutdown so that we can be listened to. We believe that the only language that the government is trying to understand is through mass action. So our members on the ground are ready. They have informed us that, look, we are prepared to go on a mass action to protect Eskom from being looted by the private sector in particular.
Is this going to help?
I don't think so. The problems with Eskom are very deep. I mean, firstly, there's massive corruption on the coal procurement side, and I've quantified that at about 40 billion a year. There is a major issue whether it hurts the workers or not. The fact of the matter is that Eskom is overstaffed. There's no doubt about that. And it's not the workers' fault. It's management's fault. They should not have employed so many people.
How do you play that with the unions?
Well, I think Eskom will have to offer proper retrenchment packages to satisfy the unions, because the unions and the workers were not at fault by taking the jobs.
Would that work?
No, it will not. We will not agree with retrenchment. In fact, yesterday we also discussed about the issue of retrenchment that we reject with contempt it deserves. We don't think that retrenchment is the solution. We believe that the solution is the disconnection of the IPPs. We don't think that they are doing good to Eskom, because they are taking a lot of money from Eskom. That should be the focus. First thing should be the focus on the IPPs, disconnect the IPPs. The municipalities that are owing Eskom as well, they must also begin to pay Eskom. For example, Jane, we know that in Soweto they don't pay electricity. So government must have a strategy to say how then to begin to persuade people to pay for the electricity, so that at least Eskom can have something in its pocket.
I mean, that's something like 50 billion a year.
Okay, so the IPPs last year were cost Eskom around about 34 billion. This year it goes up to about 50 billion and increases every year as more and more deployed. And I agree with the union, that's a major, major problem. The way that the IPPs have been structured are structured to decimate Eskom sales. And the more you decimate
So how do you change that then?
Well, they need to fall into the dispatch rules. And the dispatch rules, before they were amended to cater for the IPPs, were very clear. Cheapest dispatch first. And not IPPs first. So that is something that I think needs to be taken to the Constitutional Court, and I believe the Constitutional Court will throw it out, because there's no benefit and rationality in having the expensive IPPs being first in the queue when it comes to sales. Besides that, I mean, Eskom, as I saw recently again, spends 93 billion rand a day on buying IPP power, and the revenue it gets in is about 24 billion rand a day.
So you think that's an obvious one to deal with? I mean, there's so many moving parts here, aren't there? What did you make of the call for a bailout?
Look, we believe that it should happen, but as a temporary solution. It shouldn't be permanent, because you can't run Eskom that is being bailed out a year after a year. Yes, it cannot be. We need a permanent solution that will begin to assist Eskom to operate and make some money, so that they can be able to pay employees and run the business. So we're saying the bailout, it can happen, but we need a permanent solution so that Eskom can be able to self-generate money.
You don't need a bailout. Sorry, if I may interject. You don't need a bailout. If you sort out the coal,
you wonder where the money would come
it's
out.
40 billion rand a year free cash flow. If you sort out the labour problem, it's 31 billion rand a year free cash flow. If you sort out the IPPs, it's another 30 to 50 billion rand. It's more than 100 billion rand, and it frees up that Eskom can pay its own debt. So Eskom doesn't need a bailout. We just need the cleaning up. That's all.
Yes, no, we agree. But currently, it is not possible. In the long term, that should kick in, of course. But currently, what that is going to happen, because Eskom has huge money that is owing to the investors. So hence we are saying, currently, we can look into the bailout. Going forward, we agree that the issue of coal, the issue of IPPs, it should be something that should be looked into in a long term, so that the solution can become a permanent solution.
Along with this unbundling, because it seems that, you know, the level of the conversation where it is at the moment, it's probably going to happen, right? I mean, what's the time frame here, and who do you think the players will be? Who's going to jump on board?
So it's nothing new. I put a proposal to the Competition Commission about 2 years ago to unbundle Eskom for various reasons, including monopolistic market behaviour, price
and because it's been tried and tested.
And yes, certainly. So this discussion has been on the table for a long time. So I don't think it needs to take an unnecessary long period of time to do the severance of the different operations. They already operate autonomously anyway. And so I think it's just a question of administrative tasking, that's all.
And Ted Blom, you said we've got to do it now. You're going to wait for the elections. Beza Malukutu, thank you both for talking to us.
You're welcome.
The Vodacom's been given an ultimatum: pay the Please Call Me inventor by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning or face a national shutdown. The mobile providers had a protracted legal battle with its former employee, Kosana Makate. The public is now being asked to boycott Vodacom if it doesn't give him adequate compensation. John Bailey has the story.
Pay up or face the consequences. So says the Please Call Me movement. It's been fighting the cellular giant since 2007 to pay the inventor Nkosana Makate. It's believed Vodacom has made billions of rand from the service, which allows subscribers who don't have airtime to send a free call request SMS to recipients. People are now being asked to occupy Vodacom stores across the country and to move their subscriptions to other networks.
Vodacom is trying to deny black excellency. Is trying to deny Mr. Makate his invention while profiting from what Mr. Makate has invented. If the Please Call Me was not profitable for Vodacom, they wouldn't have proceeded to take it internationally to countries like India, Colombia, and Tanzania.
3 years ago, the Constitutional Court ordered Vodacom and Makate to negotiate and to agree on reasonable compensation. While the amount Vodacom is offering Makate is unknown, he's rejected it as ridiculous. The company says its CEO has conveyed his final decision to Makate's lawyers. It believes it followed the Constitutional Court's order and considers the matter closed. But Vodacom's not doing itself any favors. It's receiving even further backlash on Twitter. That's after serving Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi with a cease and desist order to stop him from commenting on the matter. A showdown now looms. A mass gathering of civil society and political groups is set to take place at the Vodacom head office on Thursday. John Bailey, Johannesburg.
Up next, we're going beyond our borders with a quick summary of the day's top international stories. But first, here's a look at the weather in some of the destinations you may be heading to.